Welcome to All Things Moore County, Moore County's weekly radio show, highlighting the many facets of the Sandhills. That includes real estate, lifestyles, community, and neighborhood. And now, from 4 Properties, here's your host, Bill Sahadi.
Good morning and welcome to the talk show, All Things Moore County. Dorothy, good morning.
Good morning, Bill.
How are you?
Yeah, I've been better. The pollen stole my voice.
The pollen has taken it away from you, huh?
Yes, it has.
We're hopefully about a week away from getting rid of it. But as the pollen clears, we are this year standing in front of a real estate market and a real estate business that has been very brisk, very active. And we talk on past shows about, we touch base about certain things about the market, but today we're going to focus exclusively on real estate.
That's your favorite topic, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah, it kind of is.
Okay. I like it too, so.
You're probably so tired of it.
No.
But there's so much to talk about, and I've got 2 great guests with me today. A lot of people know Bill Smith. They know him in many different ways in Moore County. One of the great community supporters, a businessman and entrepreneur, and Bill, a real estate broker.
That's right, Bill.
Welcome to the fold.
Well, thank you for having me here this morning.
Yeah.
I greatly appreciate having the opportunity to be here with you and chat about some things that I'm learning every day in the real estate market.
You maybe have a better appreciation about some of the things that happen in our business, but you have the savvy and you have the perspective and the experience where you're a great asset to the Pinehurst Southern Pines Association of Realtors.
Well, thank you. Real estate's always been one of my passions. Since I was in the automobile business, I always dabbled in it from, while I was in the auto business. Over 34 years I've been here in Southern Pines, so needless to say, we've all seen a lot of changes, during that time period. I was thinking about this morning coming down here, one of the things that I'm really impressed with when I go out and meet a lot of the brokers that I didn't know, and a lot of the younger brokers, and they're great people.
Right.
They're great people with a great passion, and I look back and compare how hard it was for us in our business to attract good salespeople.
Right.
And quite honestly, I haven't run across a bad young salesperson in the real estate side, and that's uplifting and enlightening to me, and I really enjoy that, and it keep us old guys on our toes. So that's good.
Well, you just provided me with the best segue to introduce who I think is a great young broker who's been in the business, Kristin Mueller from Coldwell Banker. She typifies a lot about the new breed of broker in Moore County, very proactive and always about the client and not about herself. Kristin, good morning.
Good morning, Bill.
How are you?
I'm great. How are you? I'm really happy that Bill Smith was looking at me when you were talking about young people. So
he was.
You made my day, Bill. Thank you.
He didn't look at me when he said that. He looked away. He turned his back to me.
Absolutely not, Bill. We're not going to look at ourselves in the mirror either.
I really appreciate that. You got a birthday coming up, so.
Well, you guys both come from different points of view. Kristin, you're a mom.
Yes.
You have 2 children?
2 children.
What age group?
My son is 11 and my daughter's 13.
So you've got them going through the adolescence, all the changes that are going on.
All that fun, the hormones, it's fun. It's a lot of fun. You spend the first 9 years trying to keep them alive, and then the next 9 years just trying to turn them into good human beings. So it's a challenge, but it's a lot of fun.
How did you get to Moore County?
Moore County. Well, my husband loves to golf. Do I need to say any more than that?
Where'd you come from?
From Pennsylvania. Grew up in the Lehigh Valley of Pennsylvania.
Whereabouts?
Outside of Allentown.
I went to Lafayette College.
Oh, you're kidding?
In
I
Easton.
went to Moravian in
Did
Bethlehem.
Did you really?
Yep, they were right down the street.
You're probably too young to remember Walp's, which was a bakery. Oh, see, she's too young.
I'm sorry.
It was a different generation. I didn't realize you were from the Allentown area.
I didn't either. We'll have to talk about that in another show.
Yeah, grew up in the Poconos as a kid.
Oh, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
We had a good skiing up there.
How long have you been in Moore County?
We've lived here just over 8 years.
Okay. So you have last 8 years has probably provided you with a perspective of the changing landscape
Absolutely.
of Moore County?
Absolutely. We thought it was okay to move here because the Starbucks first opened, so that was the first sign that things were changing, and happy to see some of the stores come in and the population changes, and we love it here. It's a great town to raise kids in, and
really is.
It's a nice small town.
Bill, you have more than an 8-year perspective, don't you, in Moore County?
Yes, Bill. I actually moved to Moore County in October of 1979.
Oh, my goodness.
And when I came here as the Ford dealer, and I was, the Ford Lincoln dealer, Mazda dealer here for 34 years. So, and I think about some little funny instances that we experienced over the years. We used to always say on Broad Street, it must be Friday afternoon. We have to look across the street and wait before we can cross it.
That's right.
And that was a true statement. With your business being down there too, you know how that was in the past compared to what it is today. But things have changed. When I came here, there were no stoplights in Moore County, in Southern Pines.
He's right.
Really?
He's right. I got out of college in 1975, and the first time I ever came here was 1979.
Okay.
And I'm trying to remember, maybe there were 3 restaurants around. I would come here on a golf trip, maybe 3.
Yeah, maybe 3. Very limited, and it was just a completely different area. And you look back now, and we're so, I'm so pleased to see the growth that we've had. So we always say we are not typical small town North Carolina. We are definitely an anomaly here.
Right.
I mean, if you go 20 miles out of this area, you're going to find a whole different demographic, and so. Really fortunate that having been here for the 34 years, it's like any place. We see our ups and downs, but, overall, the economy, I think, has been very good. And one of the things I've always looked at, too, and maybe y'all can kind of relate to it, and Bill, you haven't been here over the years, too. It seems to me that we've always been the last to go into a recessionary period, but we're kind of the last to come out of it, too.
That's right.
So, that's something I think that we need to think about. And I think our time is coming now. I'm very positive on what I see happening at the moment.
Right.
I know in some areas, like I have a daughter that lives in Charlotte, and literally in Charlotte, if you're looking in the right area, I mean, houses go on the market and they're sold, like, immediately.
He's right.
And that's not what happened. It's not happening here, but... hopefully we're going to see a little more of that. Because, she called last week, so I can't believe it. This house went on the market like it was sold within an hour.
Right.
And they're taking backup offers and all of that. And, then all of a sudden when you're in the business here, it can kind of be depressing at times. And then you have to, adjust yourself and say, it's coming, it's better than it was. But I think that's really a difference between the metro and the smaller town, but it's coming. I think it'll be here. I don't think it'll ever be to that level, but it's going to be better.
Kristin, we talk a lot about the changing demographics of Moore County, and you focus a lot of your attention with a lot of the military families that are coming into town, and that's more of a quick turnaround, as Bill is alluding to.
That's true. You don't have to be quite as patient when they're coming to you, and they have orders to come to Moore County like in a month. So I've been fortunate enough to meet some great military families and been able to help them find housing pretty quickly. So it's fun when that happens, but I've seen the other side too, and patience is probably the hardest thing to learn in this industry. For me.
We since 2007 and 2008, we have seen a lot of shifts, a lot of changes in the economy, and I agree with Bill. I think the economy today is a lot better. It's more vibrant than it was in 08, 09, and 010, and there are a lot of people who have a lot of hope and a lot of optimism. It's not right across the board, Bill, but it's way more prevalent than it was 6 years ago.
Absolutely. It's I think all of us that were in business, when we think back when we were in business in 07, 08, and 09, and 09.
Oh my goodness.
It was tough. It was a tough business. If any retail business, I don't care what you were doing, I always say if you were selling real estate or if you were selling ice cream, you weren't selling as much of it. And that's been something that's really, but we're so blessed here, I think, too, I think that we have all of the medical facilities and all that we have here, that it actually brings people in from out of the area, and then also brings people here to retire, and so we have a lot of infrastructure here that's we're going to benefit from down the road. And thank goodness for the military too, for more than one reason. But the economy of this area would not be the same if it wasn't for the military being here.
That's right. Kristin, what do you make of, since 08 and 09, the advent of social media, the Internet, the national real estate sites, where a lot of your buyers are coming into town and they have preconceived notions about value? They come to you and say, these are the properties I want to see. That's changed quite a bit.
Absolutely, and I've been only in the industry for a year, so I'm coming into it with social media being where it's at and everybody looking for houses online. So it becomes our job as realtors to educate our consumers, our clients, about what true market value is versus tax value, or what they may have seen on a Zestimate or something like that. So, but yeah, absolutely, the online presence is something that I'm trying to spend a lot of time. It takes, sometimes my 13-year-old has to help me with that, but that's absolutely important.
So you spend more time with clients, I know I do, trying to manage their expectations from day one, rather than have them come in and tell you what the values are. It's up to you to take that shift and turn it around, right?
Try to. Sometimes it's hard because, like you said, they already know because they saw it online somewhere, so it must be true, right?
Bill, I met with a client yesterday who is interested in a house, and he's from Colorado, and he wrote me a long email, and he said, I've looked at the comps, I've looked at the tax records, and based on the tax records and based on the comps that I've seen on Zillow, I have pretty much come up with a value for the house. So I bit my tongue. I have no tongue left. I bit my tongue, and I said, we're going to have to re-educate and get out in front of the assumptions that some of the buyers will make when they come into Moore County.
Bill, I don't have much tongue left either. Having been in the automobile business for all my life, and with the internet and all too, there's no business that is any more exposed than the automobile business. I mean, you know exactly what a car costs, you know exactly where we are, but I think you have to turn it into a positive and say an educated consumer is a much better consumer. I'd much rather deal with an educated consumer than I had with somebody that's just pulling these numbers out of the air.
Right.
Because it's like in a home, it's like in a home compared to a pre-owned car. There are no two that are alike. Even though the tax records say this, who knows about the quality of the house and what it actually is? It goes on. But an educated consumer is a good consumer.
And a good broker in today's world is the most valuable asset that a buyer or seller can have, especially in Moore County, who can get out in front and know the local market, be able to frame the conversation for their clients to have, rather than just agreeing with the client because you think it's the right thing to do.
No, I think any broker that's representing a seller has got to be their advocate and has to let the potential buyer know. We've got to overcome price. Everything is not, if it was only price out there and everything, we could sell everything out there today if you just wanted to sell it on price. But you've got to overcome price, and it's got to be, a quality and the presentation of that, and letting the buyer know that what's actually in this product it just makes a world of difference. So price is not the only obstacle. You've got to overcome price.
We do a lot of pre-listing appraisals, many times for sellers before they put their home on the market. Values have been changing and moving and meandering, and today buyers come into town, and buyers they just don't want a value, they want a deal.
Right.
right?
Right. Everybody wants a deal.
Everybody wants a deal. So you are working with the seller, and how do you counsel them? You know, in that pre-listing appointment, what do you do to help set their expectations in a market of altering values?
Well, that's you mentioned pre-listing appraisals. That's a great tool. I wish I could talk some of my sellers into doing that before we go ahead and list it at what they think is what it should be listed for.
Right.
It's not always easy because that costs money too.
It does. We're gonna talk in the second set about the appraisals, the value of pre-listing appraisals, and I have some information that I want to share with both of you from Ham Thomas from Carolina Appraisers, who is a very valued resource that I use a lot, trying prior to listing a home for sale. You know, there are some brokers are good at telling people what they want to hear, and a good broker is good at telling people what they need to hear.
Very true. I need to write that down somewhere.
I'll give it to you on my note card.
Thank you.
It's my gift to you and my pleasure. We're going to come back in the second set. We're speaking with Bill Smith from Berkshire Hathaway. I don't think I mentioned that. And you work very closely with a good friend of mine, Kay Barron, who I have a lot of respect for.
Absolutely.
And we're also talking with Kristin Mueller from Coldwell Banker, all about the real estate market in Moore County in 2015. We'll be right back.
In the middle of our house, in the middle of our street, someone tells you that you've got to in the middle of our... In the middle of our street, our house. In the middle of our house, it has a crowd.
Welcome back to our real estate roundtable with Bill Smith and Kristin Mueller, talking about real estate in Moore County in 2015, some of the changes that have gone on these last 7 or 8 years. We were talking a little bit about Ham Thomas from Carolina Appraisers. I want to read I was speaking with Hamp the other day, and he does a lot of pre-listing appraisals for us. It's interesting to listen to an appraiser's point of view on the market. Hamp says, one growing trend today are people relying on Zillow. I've had several people ask me to change my appraisal based solely on what Zillow showed as the value for their home. This has been happening for a few years now, but seems to be affecting more homeowners. Moore County is so interesting with all our pockets of neighborhoods. Downtown Southern Pines has values going way up, especially with some of the new construction, while some areas of Pinehurst continue to slide. There was a listing in a gated community last week that was reduced in price by almost $90,000. That's going to turn into a comp and could hurt values in the future for some other homes. There are sales that are influenced by illness, death, divorce, where prices are way below the market. And if the appraiser comes in and doesn't understand why that sale was so low, it will hurt someone else's appraisal. He's talking here about the value of a local appraiser. Bill, Southern Pines and Pinehurst, completely different than urban areas. Hamp continues, I keep seeing pre-listing appraisals as a key to selling in less time. I had a home in Whispering Pines a few weeks ago that went under contract in just a few days. There are a lot of, quote-unquote, it depends, but there's no way around the fact that pre-listing appraisals are a smart business decision for sellers. For over 2 years now, we've watched it work over and over. Buyer and seller feel better about the transaction. Comments? Bill?
Oh, I definitely think, I try to encourage all of my prospective clients to get an appraisal prior to listing the home, because I think we all need to be realistic. I kind of look at real estate kind of like the stock market. No matter what you paid for it and when you bought it, the stock, it's worth what it's worth.
Right.
You know, and you hate to say that, but as we were chatting earlier, you know, and it's a couple of things. You need to be aggressive on the pricing. It needs to be realistic, or you just have to plan on being really, really lucky. And lucky doesn't necessarily work in today's environment because, too, it's so important to have the appraisal. If the house is sold, it's probably going to be a contingency there for an appraisal. Because you have to get the appraisal in order to get it financed.
That's right.
And most of our properties that are sold do require some financing.
Right.
So I'd rather know going in, if I get a contract on the house, is this house going to be sold, or is it going to get to the mortgage company and be rejected?
Right. Kristin, one of the greatest things I find about a pre-listing appraisal is when I list a home, and I have a pre-listing appraisal, and then we have a buyer agent who shows the home. I can't wait to give that buyer agent that pre-listing appraisal.
I bet.
Right?
I bet.
Or that septic inspection that was done before you listed the home, or that pre-listing home inspection, because it helps to qualify the offer, and it helps the buyer agent to present quantifiable information to the buyer who might have so much Zillow on the brain that they can't see straight, and they think they're overpaying for something.
That's a great tool. I am taking some good notes here on all of this information and thinking of some listings that I have right now that I wish I had this conversation before. You know, you have some sellers that hate to use the word stubborn, but getting lucky, like you said, Bill, you know, that doesn't sell houses. So
it used to be, though, in your defense, it used to be that, especially in the Southern Pines, Pinehurst area, 05, 06, you put a sign in the ground, Bill, and it was a question of how many weeks would it take to get that property under contract. And the buyers at that moment in time didn't worry about the repairs or the upgrades because property values were going up 3 or 4% a year like clockwork. Today,
you don't see that appreciation.
You got to be judicious. You got to be careful. And you wind up being a counselor and a coach and a mentor.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think those of us, too, that have been in this market over the years, if you wanted to sell your property like you're referring to, Bill, you put a sign out front and you knew that it was going to happen. You know, but today you put a sign out front, and unless another little saying I have too, the 3 P's: price, product, and presentation.
Right.
You know, all of those have got to line up. All the stars have got to line up with those 3 P's. If they don't align, you need to sit back and reevaluate, because probably one of them is out of line.
what you say is very similar to what Kay has said. She's been on the show in the past, Kay Barron, and I think she calls it the theory of the best. The home in the best location, at the best price, in the best condition, has the best chance to sell.
Correct.
It's very similar to what you just said.
Yeah, and if one of those 3 P's is not in alignment, it's going to skew the sale of the property.
Right. I read, Kristin, I went on Facebook this morning, as a matter of fact, and I read a very nice testimonial about some of your clients from Carlisle.
Oh, yeah.
And so there was something in that testimonial that that struck me, and it didn't surprise me. And it talked about how you kept them calm.
Yeah, I do have a background in social work, so that comes in handy.
What did you have to keep them calm about?
Well, you know how emotional a time in buying or selling a house is one of the most stressful things in a person's life. And so these buyers are buying from out of state. Fortunately for me, they've lived here before, but they came back, had 2 days to pick a house, so we looked at quite a few. And now that we're moving towards the closing date, a lot of stuff comes up. Picking your house is one thing, but then getting to closing
when the work
is
starts.
Completely another thing, right?
Right.
So, it's been little things like, oh my gosh, do I have enough cabinet space? Oh my gosh, where's the fence going to be? Things like that. So I've just been visiting the property as often as I can and sending her pictures and videos and just trying to talk her off the ledge sometimes. But it's been fun.
Yeah. Being a counselor is part and parcel of being a good broker. And being a social or a good listener and a facilitator. Bill, I always say that what we really do is we're air traffic controllers. We try to control all the traffic of a transaction to make sure that people don't bump into each other at that four-way intersection, and we keep the music playing as the orchestra is in symphony with us, in tandem.
Absolutely. That's funny, Kristin, too. When I graduated from college with a degree in social science.
Oh, did you?
And I was planning on being a social worker. That was my intent. And I wasn't able to get a job as soon as I got out of college in social work. I had one about 30 days later, but in the meantime, I'd gone to work for a friend of mine in the automobile business. So that's how I ended up in the automobile business. But I always said, I'm still in social work. Yeah. Because, I think everybody, no matter what we buy, buyer's remorse sets in. In some cases are worse than others.
Yeah.
And you start to question yourself, did I make the right decision? Should I really do this? And you have to just kind of work people through that period of time, because it's a very common illness, buyer's remorse.
Sure. Yeah.
And it extends out for a longer period of time in the real estate business than it does in most buying experiences.
Yeah, it's not quite the same as buying a car. I guess takes a little bit longer, but you do have to hold hands sometimes.
And I think having been in sales over the years, I think I see it more today than I have in the past. Because just think about it, Bill, I know you, having been in it over the years too, in the real estate sales, a lot of deals will come unraveled at the end.
Right.
That's not uncommon at all.
Right.
And it really gets back to that, and in a lot of cases, that buyer's remorse, people second-guessing themselves. You could go home tonight and your neighbor could have been laid off, or you could hear about a layoff in Raleigh, which may not affect anything here, but it kind of gets close to home and you start to think. So, all of these things play a big role in not only selling the property, but let it go to closing.
I think that ties into what we were talking about in terms of all the social media and how you can just get online and find out anything, because all of that information becomes overwhelming to our clients, and it's our job, I think, to try to help them figure out what's important here. Let's remember the important thing and the big picture, and kind of filter out all of that information.
Kristin brings up a great point. I think the value of a real estate broker today, even with the advent of social media, is actually more important than it was in the days when we would have to select properties for a client to see, because we were not dealing then with preconceived notions. Today we are. And a good broker is calm, has a great perspective, a good focus, can see the whole playing field, and sets the table properly for their client so that we can avoid, hopefully, the buyer's remorse, or you can prepare them to make a better decision. I've had more buyers tell me they'll go online and pick 20 homes. And I look at the homes and I go, oh, gosh, this one is not in the right neighborhood for them based on what they've told me. It's not till they get to see it. Nothing replaces physically getting to the property. No pictures online, although it's a good place to start.
Right.
And you've been very visual in your marketing, I've noticed, and I think very effective.
Yeah, it's out there. You have to be online, but going to see these properties. I mean, that's something that Kathy at Coldwell has instilled in us. To knowledge is power, and we go out every week and visit as many properties as possible. And you know, it's really helpful.
Smart lady, and she is right. That is
smart.
That is exactly right. Yeah. We're going to wrap up this set. We're going to come back and we're going to. I have a bunch of questions to ask you guys, all about real estate in Moore County 2015. Speaking with Bill Smith and Kristin Mueller. We'll be right back.
In the middle of our house, it has a crowd. There's always something happening, and it's usually quite loud.
Welcome back to our final set of All Things Moore County. Speaking with Kristin Mueller and Bill Smith, two great people, two real estate brokers in our area who are sharing a lot of their thoughts about real estate 2015. And one of the things, Bill, we and Kristin, we have spoken about this year and with some other builders who have been on, the landscape of Moore County is changing with so many buyers coming into Moore County, and they're younger. It isn't just the retired golfer, although we still welcome them and we'd love to have them. Kristin, you spend a lot of time working with families.
I do.
Right?
I do, yeah.
Mostly military?
I have been fortunate enough to have some military friends who have referred friends of theirs from the military who are coming to the area.
Right.
Thank you, Fort Bragg, for that.
Right.
And that presents a challenge when the people are overseas and they need to learn about Moore County without even seeing it and find a house without even seeing it. And, you know, I'm dealing with that right now, and luckily they have friends in the area that can help be the eyes, and it's not just all on me, but, yeah.
Do you find that most of the younger families tend to gravitate towards newer construction?
There is a lot of newer construction in it, and it is appealing. I mean, absolutely. Like we were just talking on the break about the changing landscape of Moore County, to use your words, and and yeah, it's, you know, you can get a lot for the money with the new construction, but you probably know more about that than me. No, I mean, it's just what Kristin's doing is typical. We're all working with younger buyers. Bill, it's become not just a military town, it's still a great retirement destination. But you look in downtown Southern Pines and Pinehurst on the weekends, the kids, the dogs, the people who come in and are looking at cars.
Yeah, I'm kind of on the, and it's really interesting to hear Kristin talk about the buyers that never see the property here. That's not my market.
Right.
You know, it's, you know, and it takes someone like Kristin, some of these that look at it from a whole different perspective.
Right.
Because it'd be very difficult to sell a product to someone that's out of town and they never see it. And I guess it's the easiest way, and I can see, to sell that is to sell them new, bright, and shiny. You know, when you're selling them a new home, it certainly would be easier to say that I can sell you 3,000 square feet for this amount of money, and this is what it is, and no one has ever lived in it, and, you know, that's certainly an easier sale than to maybe be selling that 25 or 30-year-old home that they don't know what they're going to have to do to it. So
Right.
I can certainly see that that segment of the market would gravitate to the new product.
And they're more risk adverse than traditional buyers. They don't want to buy something and inherit problems or issues down the road. They want it to be, if new, they get a new home warranty.
Right.
And the thinking is that they're not going to have any worries about it. Problem is sometimes some of these buyers are more mobile than they were 15 years ago, and they're not here for a very long period of time. And then they have to face the decision, do they resell their home? Do they put it on the rental market? And sometimes these transfers come out of the blue.
And I think that's something probably that's not as thought about as much, Kristin, as, like I can buy the home today and it's going to cost me this, but probably if I was a buyer, I wouldn't be thinking about
what's going to happen
3 years down the road.
The military, I think that they do, in a sense, I'm not sure how long I'm going to be here. I'm going to be here 3 years, 5 years. Would this make a good rental property? I've had that question asked before. But yeah, it's looking forward 10, 20 years, and I haven't dealt with that yet, and so I'm not sure when I go to sell my house, which is only 3 years old, what's it going to be like? I don't know. I don't have a crystal ball.
Well, no, we don't. I mean, interest rates have been so favorable for our market, and they continue to be so favorable, and I hope that continues. I'm not so sure 2-3 years down the road, Bill, they're going to be at the lows where they are right now. I don't know how our country can afford to keep floating these rates.
Well, I think I was just watching, the news this morning, and I mean, we're still rocking and reeling from the last recession or depression, I call it in some instances, and, where the government came in and propped everything up. Had not it have been for that, we would have been in really, who knows what the economy would be today.
Right.
So, maybe, Bill, you haven't been in the real estate business over the years. You may have a different perspective, but I do see interest rates. They've got to be going up.
They've got to be going up.
They've got to be going up.
Well, that's good for landlords. People who want to put their homes on the rental market in a higher interest rate environment, that's going to be good news. But not so good news for the sellers, because the values of their homes will wind up being a little bit less because of the higher rates. It's still a great time to sell, and it is still a superb time to buy. Kristin, have people ever come to you and they throw out to you, so do you think I'm better off to rent or buy?
Oh yeah.
Right?
Yep, I get that sometimes.
How do you handle that?
It depends on their financial situation, but my husband works in leasing, and and you probably know from cars. I mean, owning something is better than throwing rent out the window, right?
It really is. We had a situation early this morning, and this stuff happens, so we have to. One of my brokers came in, and there was their neighbor purchased a home in October. It was a new construction home in Whispering Pines, and contacted Jen and basically said, oh my gosh, we just bought this home, we put some upgrades in the home. They had put their closing costs into the loan and had borrowed 100%. Now he's being transferred to the Southwest part of the country after not even 6 months. So he posed a question: should I rent? Should I sell? And that's a conversation we're going to have, but we have to figure out what is that owner's temperament. Do they want to look over their shoulder? Do they want to have an asset out of state that they will pay a property manager for? Or is it something that they want to cut and go on? We come up with this dilemma from time to time, and we try to caution people when they are buying. Be judicious, perhaps put a little skin in the game, have a little equity, and hopefully buy something that when you go to sell, you don't have a lot of competition right around you because a lack of competition is your best asset. And
I think too, getting back to what Kristin was saying, her husband is in leasing.
Yeah.
And I kind of equate some of these, the real estate to the automobile business because it does mirror itself in quite a few ways.
Uh-huh.
We always said on the cars, if it appreciates, you want to own it. If it depreciates, you probably want to lease it.
Right.
And I think we're in such a market here now, guys. I don't know. The appreciation is not today what it was in real estate like it was years ago.
Right.
Don't expect that sudden burst of profit that can be there unless it's you've bought it right on the when you purchased it.
Right. We used to think after college, in our generation, that buying a house was like having a mutual fund.
Right.
Right? Each month, your monthly payment, you didn't care, and you would just add on to the value because you knew you'd keep up with it. Not so much today.
And with the educated consumers going online and looking up, well, you paid $325 for this house 2 years ago. Why do you want $350 for it now?
Right.
And that's
well, the comps support it.
Right.
I love when somebody says to me, a buyer, what did the seller pay for the house? It's the least important information. So I always say, they inherited it. So what does it matter? The house is worth what it's worth. It doesn't matter what they paid for it. But that happens from time to time. Bill, it doesn't happen as much with you because your focus, if I'm not mistaken, is more representing sellers, working with some very distinctive properties throughout the Moore County area.
Well, I have some properties that are kind of over the board, but most of my properties are at the higher end.
Right.
And it is a challenging market, but as we said earlier in the show, I think the water runs downhill, and we're the last to go into a recession, we're the last to come out. But we see more activity happening in these $1 million plus properties today.
Yes.
Because it's so much value here.
Right.
I was showing the house this past week, and the house was like $1.5 million, and I overheard the couple say, if this house they were from the Northeast. If this house was in wherever they were from, it would be $3 or $4 million.
That's right.
So we've got a lot of value here.
We do.
And I think the opportunity for appreciation is going to come from these higher end properties down the road compared to what you can buy them for today.
I agree with you. I think there's been a shift in some of the higher end properties where there has been an uptick in higher end home sales. But I think in a large part that's because the buys have become so compelling. And the people who are buying them, if they have a long term, you're right, they have a great opportunity because they're buying below market value.
Yeah.
And that's the key.
And today, most of the higher end homes, you have motivated sellers.
That's right.
And like I said, I think the opportunity does exist.
And sellers that can afford to sell.
Right. So once again, it's we've all seen the day here that $1 million property would not have stayed on the market. Would have been very short period of time. In the past, I should add.
You've been here long enough, Bill, and Kristin, you've been in the business long enough. You probably both have already started to build up a team of professionals around you, lenders, insurance people, people where you can guide your clients to go, because they look to us. We're the traffic
we're
police.
the experts. We need to know.
And we're the conduit, and you're referring people out all the time, and you've probably established yourself with a lot of other people tangential to a real estate transaction.
I have, absolutely. Everybody wants to know, who do I call to clean my carpet? Who do I
Right.
call to get a mortgage? And just like the competitiveness we have as realtors, for me it comes down to who's going to give me the best service.
Right.
So, it's an experience that you just have to accumulate that list of vendors over time, and so-and-so did a great job, they were responsive and communicative and reasonably priced, and you pass that name on, and referrals are very important.
And trust has become a very important part of your
Trust, yep.
business in the referrals that you give. Talking about trust, Bill, you had a very interesting idea in the car business. This Carfax marketing has come out where people, so they are not misled, and there's a standardized way of presenting information on vehicles. It would be great to almost transfer it to our business, huh?
Yeah, I was thinking about that when I started and, gravitated over to the real estate side of the business, that Carfax, gave you the complete history of the vehicle. And how nice would it be to have a complete history of the home? Because, there are certain facts, and I can share something with you today that I was just looking at last night, but I don't know, I'm sure there's a way out there that it could be regulated that you could put them all together, but let's say the house has a leak in the roof. Maybe it would be nice if the insurance company paid for damage to the roof. It would be on house facts. Mm-hmm. You would know that. Mm-hmm. Are there pests here? Has it had any problem with termites? Issues with the foundation of all. Has the foundation been, repaired in any way? And the age of systems. And I was showing a house yesterday, and I think a lot of times someone will say, well, how old is this air conditioning unit? Oh, well, I think it's about da-da-da-da-da, but rather than having a fact, it's this old.
Right.
I mean, you can get it off of the unit. You can go pull the serial number of the unit, and you can find out. But all of those things, and one more, Bill, you might allude to, it actually was number 3 in this group, emotional defects in the property. Has there been a death, a murder in this house? Has there been is this a haunted house? There are those. I don't think that's something in North Carolina that has to be disclosed.
Correct.
But in certain states, it is. Mm-hmm. And but all of these things could be on house facts.
I think that's a great idea. Can you make that happen?
Well, I need some techie young person like you, Kristin, to make that happen. Yeah.
Oh, that would be great.
So we'll go into business with you. House facts.
All right, let's do it.
We have great inspectors in Moore County who will go in, who work with buyer agents like Kristin, where you can ascertain as many of the facts as you need to for the buyer so they can make an informed decision during their due diligence period. That due diligence period works very well in North Carolina. I'd love to have a house fact statement that was standardized, because then everybody would be communicating from the same page of information. Right. You want to make that happen? You want to talk to the Real Estate Commission?
I'm always one of those guys that always looks at things like that all the time to say, hey, this would be an exciting little venture to put together. Mm-hmm. And I do think there's opportunity there.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I don't really see the downside of it yet, but I was just asked about one of my listings yesterday and how old is the roof. And the current owners aren't original, so we're having a hard time coming up with an answer to that question.
But you were trying to put all these things in when the house was built,
right.
And then particularly insurance claims or anything over the years, or any tragic event or anything that happened there that people might want to know, all of it. It kind of equalizes the playing field.
So the property disclosure that you work on with your sellers is the first level of information that you ascertain that you can share with the buyers, but it's buyer beware. You still have to go out and do your due diligence. You just want to make sure the seller is indicating as much as they know to the best of their knowledge. Right. But sellers are not contractors, and we just gather the information the best we can and present it so people can start that conversation, I guess.
Right.
But I think that's one of the other reasons that is very important, that you find a good broker to deal with.
Yeah.
And a good company to deal with.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's not like, buying, when you buy a home from a reputable company and a reputable broker, you've got a certain amount of assurance there.
That's right.
When you buy a home from an individual on the street, what kind of assurance do you have there?
Mm-hmm. Very good point.
I mean, I think it's something that you really need to be aware of, that it's so very important that you find that broker and that company
Right.
that's reputable and has a good name in the marketplace.
And the great companies in Moore County, all the realtor members, operate under the guise of a code of ethics.
Absolutely.
We self-regulate, and that is a very important distinction that you make when people are picking a broker or they're identifying a company and then interviewing the broker at that company. There's a lot of, there's so many other topics we could go into, and time is running short, and I'm sorry that it is, but Kristin Mueller, if people want to contact you, where can they reach you?
Well, you can reach me on my cell phone. It's always with me and always on. It's
Okay.
910-691-1041.
And that can be for people who are in the market to purchase, in the market to sell.
Yes, buyers, sellers. I'm happy to help anybody.
And I'll keep looking for your very good testimonials.
Thank you.
Yeah, none of them are a surprise to me.
Thank
and,
you.
and I wish you the best of luck.
I really appreciate it, Bill. I'm grateful for the opportunity that you asked me to be here today.
Thank you.
Thanks.
And Bill Smith, you are one of the most talked about people on our show in your absence, from people like Earl Wright from Project Santa. He was on prior to Christmas. You've done a lot for the community. You're a well-known name, but now you're going to become a well-known name in the real estate business with Berkshire Hathaway.
Well, thank you, Bill. We've, having been here over the years, we always tried to do everything we could to give back to the community, and
Yep.
certainly from Earl Wright's and, the Bite program, on down to many other facets that we've, contributed to over
Yeah.
the years. But I am looking forward to being in the real estate business. You can reach me on my cell at 910-528-4090. I have an office downtown. I'm in with Berkshire Hathaway, and I have an office downtown Southern Pines at the old Red Cross building.
Yep.
You can find me there. So I thank you for the opportunity to be on the show this
It
morning.
was a pleasure to have you, and Kristin, it was a pleasure to have you.
Thank you.
Everybody, have a great week. This is All Things Moore County.
Our